Hello world, Shelly here, and it's time for another episode of Foundation Fest. And today I'm going to check out from J.Cat Beauty the SkinSurance Max Coverage Silky Foundation. Retails for $14.99 for 1 fluid ounce or 30 mils of product. Comes in 16 different shades. I have this in the third lightest shade, Bisque. They say this foundation is a weightless, buildable, Korea-made liquid foundation that contains key ingredients such as tea tree leaf extract to help reduce scarring and calm informs the skin. Their translations are always interesting. While panthenol hydrates the skin, smooths and softens. Hyaluronic acid will help plump the skin while blurring out imperfections. I'm actually fixing the grammar as we go. And hydrolyzed collagen promotes anti-aging and healthy skin. This long-lasting foundation delivers luminous natural glow, leaving the skin feel silky and smooth. It's feeling silky and smooth. So that is what we have going on. This one, their powder is really, really nice. And so that is what inspired me to pick up the liquid foundation. I do have one minor complaint about the website. On their own website, they've got product photos of people before and after, like zoomed in really close to show like fine lines and texture on the skin. But I'm fairly certain that they are different people in the before and afters, and that is just a bit misleading.
Hey guys, editing Shelly here. Long time no chat. I sicked my investigative goldfish team on this issue, and the members in our members only Discord chat for the channel dug up some interesting things. Now, these may all be the same person. They're clearly digitally manipulated, but in addition to that, at least one of these photos has a source on the internet that is not clearly connected to the J.Cat brand. It appears to be just an image pulled from another place. Maybe they got permission to do that, but overall, I'm just a little sketched out by this whole thing. It does not seem entirely legit. That is my opinion on that. Back to you, Shelly.
So, I mean, honestly, it turned me off so much that I wasn't going to film this, but I'm going to film this because let's focus on the product and I will debunk whether or not it does the things they say it does. So in the ingredients, we are talking about a dimethicone-based, silicone-based foundation. I don't see any added fragrance. The key ingredients that they mention, the hyaluronic acid, the hydrolyzed collagen, and the tea tree leaf extract are the final ingredients in the ingredient list, so they're probably not in very high concentrations. But let's take a look at this shade Bisque swatched against a few others in my collection. You know what time it is. On Fridays, we swatch. First up is today's foundation from J.Cat Beauty, the SkinSurance foundation in shade Bisque. Second, I've got from CoverGirl, the True Blend Matte Made in shade L20. Third up is the L'Oreal True Match Super Blendable Makeup in Neutral 1. Fourth is from Wet n Wild, the Photo Focus Dewy Foundation in Shell Ivory. And last I've got from CYO Life Proof 101. I already cleansed, moisturized, and sunscreened this 46-year-old face. I have primed with the CoverGirl True Blend Base Business Moisturizing Edition. I'm feeling a little dry today. I have dry skin anyway. I'm super peely right now, especially under my eyes. You know, like every 6 weeks or so, I feel like I'm a snake and I shed my skin and I just peel like crazy and then it stops and it's like clockwork and I don't know why, but it is what it is. So this foundation is going to get a little bit of a test. I will go in on one side of my face with a dampened Real Techniques Miracle Complexion Sponge. Other side, I've got my e.l.f. Ultimate Blending Brush. We will see if there is a preference one way or the other. Right off the bat, I'm really surprised that this shade is so light, being the third lightest. It's definitely too light for me, but On the upside, I don't smell any sort of scent with this. It didn't have added fragrance, but sometimes the ingredients just have a scent, and I don't smell anything with this one. The coverage is quite light with the sponge, and it is clinging to the edges of all of my peeling skin, which I'm now noticing I also have some peelies going on my chin. So, not right off the bat, not one of those that's probably going to be your best pick if you have peeling from, you know, tretinoin or retinols or anything like that going on. And yeah, definitely a little bit too light. Maybe not too much too light. Maybe I'm in denial about what my coloring is right now. But I'd say a solid light coverage right off the bat. I can still see my sunspots poking through here. Let's try the brush side. This blends out fine with the brush, but I think I like the finish, the way it looks on the skin with the sponge a bit better. It is, I feel like, just a little bit more patchy with the brush. It's kind of a dry formula. Like, I feel like it's a matte finish. It's kind of a flat matte, and it dries down fairly quickly, so you don't have a lot of time to move it around. And if you don't get it in place, it's a little bit patchy-like. It's a little patchy on this big blob of my cheek, which I just didn't blend out fast enough, I think, was the issue there. But let's zoom in and take a look at this one. So, like I said, it is clinging to any bits of peeling skin that I've got. The coverage is way more consistent on the sponge side. So I would say definitely go with a sponge with this one if you are having issues with getting the coverage to be consistent. Right out of the gate, I'm not a huge fan of this finish. It's just kind of flat. Part of that's probably the shade being a little too light, but let's see how this goes after I get some bronzer on and warm things up just a little bit. And let me put the rest of my face on. It is 1:53. I'll be right back. Okay, we are back with the J.Cat SkinSurance foundation. Warmed it up a little bit with some bronzer. I will say that it does a nice job at smoothing pores, and I would say even just a tiny bit of smoothing texture. It does look nice in that regard, so the claims it's making in that regard, not as drastic as the photos they show on their website, but I do feel like it's doing a little bit of smoothing of both. The texture is still just kind of a flat matte, so I felt like I had to draw in a lot of the dimension of the foundation with bronzer, but part of that is the lightness factor. On the rest of my face, my eyeshadow, first time trying this palette, and it's amazing. It is from Kaleidos. This is the Escape Pod palette, and it is so pretty, you guys. So pretty. Thoroughly impressed. Love the packaging. It's just very, very nice. I have the Charlotte Tilbury Airbrush Bronzer. I am wearing the CoverGirl. Where did my blush go? True Blend. This is the shade Love Me. My highlight is also Kaleidos. It is the Diamond Dasher highlight. And my lip is a combination. It's mostly Flower Beauty Chill Out Lip Glaze in Zen with a little bit of Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit in... It's something about wine. Wine is the answer. Yes, it is. Ain't that the truth? And my mascara is Warrior Princess from Flower Beauty. So that is where we are starting out. I'm going to go about my day. I will do a daylight check-in in a bit. We'll see. Maybe it'll melt together and not look as flat. Hopefully, fingers are crossed. And then I'll come back tonight and give you guys my final thoughts. Hey guys, we're about 2.5 hours in. And while there's still a little bit of daylight left, color match. It is a little bit too light for me. Maybe not if that was my color, but my forearm color is a little bit darker. Seems to be holding up fine. I'm just not a fan of the finish, really. But I haven't gotten a look in a mirror, but I'm not seeing anything. It doesn't look like it's gathering in lines or anything, so that's a good sign. So that is where we're at in terms of almost 3 hours in. I think it's like 4:45 right now. I'll be back tonight to wrap this one up. 11:56 p.m. That puts us right around the 10-hour mark. Let's take a look at how the J.Cat Beauty SkinSurance Max Coverage Foundation held up. The good news is the clinging to flaking skin hasn't gotten any worse. It doesn't look any worse. My skin didn't flake anymore. So it doesn't look any better, but it doesn't look any worse. And also, I think on the bright side, my pores and texture might look a little bit more smooth now than they did initially. So that tells me that as the foundation kind of warmed up to my body chemistry, it sort of melted all together. And that's a good thing. I think, you know, generally speaking, on areas that aren't flaking, it looks really nice. On the downside, it's slightly drying. I feel a little bit dry right now. I'm getting a little bit tight, just a little bit, but it's noticeable. I'm ready to wash this off. And as far as the wear itself, let's take a look. Let's zoom in. It hasn't settled into lines. That is good. But on my chin and around my mouth, it's definitely kind of gunking up, and you know, the way a foundation that breaks down starts to gunk up and bunch up along movement areas, so it's definitely doing that. Blush, bronzer, and highlight are still intact. I have a lot of glitter on my face from the eyeshadow, but the foundation seems to have stayed put. I'm missing some coverage on my nose, but that's fairly typical. You know, I can see the flakes between my eyebrows, but that's how we started out today. Otherwise, my forehead still looks nice. I still see the bronzer I had applied. It does not look patchy. I don't think anything is settling into lines. Texture looks fine as far as my forehead goes. So generally speaking, it held up okay. I wish it wore a little bit longer before it started breaking down around my whole mouth area, but generally speaking, I'm not gonna ding it for my personal preference of not liking the finish that much, because I do think that's a personal preference, and other claims that they made have panned out okay. Now, because this is intended for a rating for mature and dry skin, mature and dry skin is very often going to be dealing with flaking or peeling skin, and that's a pretty big deal. So this wasn't very great at handling that. It wasn't the worst. We have seen much worse. You know we have. So in that regard, it's okay. In the sense that it's a little bit drying, not great for dry skin, and we're not even really into the dead of winter yet, so at least in terms of the potential for being more dry in the environment, we're not max dryness yet, so that's not great. If I had to give a grade to the J.Cat Beauty SkinSurance Max Coverage Foundation, I'm going to give it the benefit of the doubt and go B-. It's okay. I probably should be going C+, but because it kind of improved upon some things I initially didn't like, I'm gonna give it the B-, a low B. This is like an 80% B-. That's where I'm gonna go with this one. That's where I'm at. That's where I'm at. It's not something I'm gonna reach for very often, but it could be worth a try if you get it for a good price. Or if your skin's not as dry as mine, you know, you have to take every little bit of this into consideration, because everybody's skin type and body chemistry is different, and what works for me might not work for you, and what doesn't work for me might work great for you. So that's the joy of foundation, right? How about it? How about it? there you have it. Another episode of Foundation Fest is in the books. If you enjoy foundation reviews, if you had a good time with this one, give me a thumbs up down below. Please subscribe if you haven't already. I post new videos every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And as always, thanks a lot for taking some time out of your day to geek out over makeup with me. I appreciate your time, and I hope you guys all have an awesome day or night wherever you are in the world. Take care of each other. Bye-bye.